In today's episode, we'll be talking about the qualities of a back rower, breakfast on the go, and again, we talk about working with a strength coach. Welcome to episode 14 of Run It Straight. Oh, it's not flowing today, is it? Yeah, that was good last time. Let's do that again. He's like, Nikki, shut up. In today's episode, I've forgotten everything.
Talking about back row. No.
Oh, thinks he's got it now. Today's first question comes to us via Instagram. What do development coaches look for in a back row player? Firstly, I would say, how long is a piece of string? It's one of those, it all depends. Some coaches are looking for certain things, some coaches are looking for others. Sometimes it's a body type, and there's different types of, you could have sort of like the Paul Gallen sort of nuggety sort of body type. We've got a few guys in the program like that, or on the other side of it, you might have someone who's a lot taller, more lanky, so to speak. You could have a bigger body, someone like Sam Burgess, who can play in the back row or he can play in the middle. I mean, body types, there's a lot of different ones. It just depends on the coach, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Number one thing that they are looking for, which is again nothing new that we haven't said before, is they're looking for the right attitude. It's like, okay, you don't have any control over how tall you are. You do if you're doing all of your athletic prep properly. You do have control over, you know, how big and strong and fast to a certain extent, but you can't control your height, okay? What you do control 100% is your attitude and some of those other things that we talked about before, like your body fat percentage and like your strength and power output and like your fitness. You do have control over those things if you're going to train them properly. Attitude is important. Secondly, again, we've mentioned this before, we'll keep mentioning it because nothing changes. Like sometimes I had a question from someone saying, oh, I want to ask this, but can you give us a different response? And it's like, well, that's not what the answer is. And we're going to keep saying the same things because that's what makes a good footballer in whatever particular position you're talking about. An effort on effort player. We even post clips up when we have a look and we watch some of our boys play. It's when they make a tackle and then they're at marker and then they chase the kicker and then, so they're right on putting pressure on the kicker. This could be a back rower. And then what you find, kicker gets a kick away 30, 40 metres downfield, and they're getting back and they're there for there might be a one or two scoots, and they're there for the first hit up. Meanwhile, there's someone who didn't make a tackle, he didn't put any pressure on the kicker, and he's slowly lumbering back to get in position. Those are the kinds of things that coaches notice. So, you know, being perpetually in motion is kind of useful, allows you to get around the ball. Things you would like to add?
Yeah, for sure. Work rate. So there's one thing to have good attitude, but also the effort that you have on the field. One of the best ways is get someone to count your stats. If you're a second rower, you want to have high stats. You want to get through a huge amount of workload and play big minutes. Post-contact meters, I'd say, is very big. So once you make contact with the player that's tackling you, driving forward, so leg drive past that. Being able to offload to supporting players, like if you've got that fullback that's always roaming around you, an offload is very handy and can lead to a try.
Both hands, speaking of hands.
Yes.
If you can offload, there's probably a good 50% of players that are playing at rep level have got a good offload with their dominant hand. There's very, very few who can do it with both. Practice with both hands and don't just get caught out getting tackled with the ball on the same side. Develop a strong palm, which works hand in hand with your offload.
As well as tackling. Make sure you get enough tackles in as well. So that's why I refer back to counting stats. If you're doing those three things well, I believe you've given yourself every chance to being selected.
And look, when you run the ball, we see guys, because we've got quite a few that are they're in junior development at 13, 14s, 15s, or they're in mats, or they're in ball, and you go and you watch. And the difference oftentimes between you might have two guys who are doing all the effort on effort plays, they're trying to get through their work. You've got some guys who just run the ball really, really, really hard, and you've got someone else who's doing everything else, but instead of just running hard and running straight into the defence, they're running good lines. They're running their overs lines, they're running their unders lines, they're running straight when they're required to run straight. They're learning to run at a weak shoulder and play what's in front of them and react. And if you're running a certain line and you see that the ball carrier on your right-hand side on the inside, he ducks in, and the guy who's marking him ducks in, then you oftentimes, that's where the gap, he's made that gap for you. You need to follow and you need to jam in and run that unders line and follow along with him. Otherwise, what he's done hasn't worked. So learning to run lines, training that as much as possible. With our field sessions now, we spend a considerable amount of our skilled work is just on running those right lines and reacting, and not just a premeditated, well, he's going to run in, so I'm going to run in. Just because he runs in doesn't mean that if he runs in and the gap doesn't open up, don't run in because you're just going to get smashed. Learn to read the guys that are playing inside you and how to run off them. You see oftentimes a lot of the good combinations are when you've got a half or a 5/8 and they work on a lot of stuff with their sort of their second row and their centre. So that edge, those 2 or 3 or 4 players, they really know each other's games, and they start to get a feel for when they're going to edge in or when they're going to edge out. We've talked about learning to look at what's sort of unfolding in front of you.
Yes. Well, a couple of players that do that really well, if I can give an example, maybe that will help with the younger boys.
Yep.
A bit of the older boys, Luke Lewis is the best line running second row I've seen. These days, you can probably say for the younger boys, Ryan Madison.
Yep.
That's why he scores tries as a forward.
Yep.
He runs really good lines.
And Boyd Cordner.
Boyd Cordner as well. And you're still running the set plays, but knowing when to change angles and hit the right hole makes a very big difference. And not premeditated.
Yep.
Eyes up footy. So play what's in front of you.
But it is something that you need to practice.
Yes.
And you need to practice. And it is tricky. You can practice running. You can just set up a series of cones and just drill yourself to run an unders line, run an unders line, run an unders line. So you get used to that mechanical movement, and running an overs line, same thing. But you do need to get some people in front of you that you can practice, whether you're trying to hit a line and hit a hole, or you're running with the ball in 2 hands, looking to pass to someone outside of you, so trying to pull your defender across a little to create a little bit of space. To a certain extent, you can train the movement pattern itself on its own, but you need to get, whether that's a couple of your teammates or your brothers, or your brother and your dad, and you just practice running those lines and bringing and seeing if that defender, if he comes towards you, then you pass the ball. If he doesn't, then you hold it and you go yourself, or being the runner and reacting to staying in or pushing out. And if that defender, if he doesn't get drawn in, then maybe you need to stay wider and hold your line rather than jamming in. Anything else to add on that point?
No, but I mean, besides if you're running the right line, you won't always lead to a try, but you could at least poke your head through 2 defenders and draw an offload, so someone's supporting you, and then there's your try right there. So
which is the other skill we talked about, which is your offloading.
Exactly.
And the big thing with having the capacity to be an effort-on-effort player is being fit enough to do that. So like he was saying, you're getting your tackles, getting your defensive work in, getting your offensive work in, being around the ball. That's not going to happen if you're out of shape. So now, out of shape means 2 things. One, it means not carrying too much body fat. And secondly, it means being fit enough. Because there are some guys who are carrying a little bit, but they're actually pretty fit. They've got a big motor. They can play big minutes. But then there's also guys who are fairly lean, but they have no motor because they don't do any of the conditioning work. So it's both. You want to try and get your body fat down as much as you can. And you want to be fit enough to play big minutes so that you can hang around where the ball actually is.
So if you're a type that's saying that you're doing everything possible to being selected, we just listed a lot of things that you can improve on.
Yeah, we hear that a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, how many players would you say have come through that have actually been doing everything they can? Like
it's very rare.
Like we've had maybe 2?
Yeah.
2 that have been doing everything that they can.
But those 2 that have come in and put the time and the effort in, you can see the big difference that's come about from that.
Oh yeah, they're reaping big rewards.
Yes.
Look, it's not overly complicated, but that doesn't mean that it's easy because you've got to put the work in.
Yeah.
Okay, our next question comes again, Instagram. I get up early, 5:45, and I leave at 6:15 a.m. for school every morning. And I was wondering if you have any meal suggestions that are quick and easy for me to have before I go. Side note, I am 15 and currently trying to lose weight. When you say lose weight, we're assuming that you mean you want to lose body fat, not just weight, because we don't want to lose muscle. We've talked about that before. So let's just make sure we make those distinctions because it matters. We want to try and lose some body fat. Another little side note, 5:45 a.m. is not early. It might be early compared to some of the other guys, but we were just having a chat, and Nikki behind the camera as well. We all get up a lot earlier than that. I usually get up at 3:30 every day. But yeah, okay, yeah, so you're not a trainer like me, that's fine. But I know divers that get up at 4 a.m. swimmers who get up at 4 a.m. and gymnasts who get up at 4, they all get up at that time to go and train. So saying that you get up at 5:45 a.m. and I don't really have time to get breakfast, yeah, wrong. You do have time. You could just get up 15 minutes earlier. That being said, what would you suggest for someone who is limited for time?
Yes, with everything Joe said, I would suggest a protein shake. And I do know that Joe has a pretty good recipe for that.
So we get a lot of the, because this is not the first rodeo, this is not the first time. We get asked this question by boys all the time. Yeah. And look, full credit to you, you are getting up a little bit earlier. We get some boys, oh, I don't have time to have breakfast. What time do you get up? Oh, 7:50. What time do you leave for school? 8 o'clock. So you get up and you have 10 minutes. Yeah, I get dressed, go to the toilet, and then I go to school. So we'll maybe get up a little bit earlier. But if you don't have time, get some protein and get like a blender or a NutriBullet or something along those sorts of lines.
You can get a cheaper one if price is an issue.
Yeah. We had the price is an issue.
Something called Blitz.
Thing last year. Is there?
So cheap as.
Okay. Well,
Ninja.
what's it called?
Ninja.
Okay, well there you go. Blitz, Ninja, NutriBullet, just a regular old-fashioned blender, they'll all work. Anyway, scoop of protein, some kind of green vegetable. I myself, because I do this of a morning, I put broccoli in. You could put celery, you could put... The most least offensive thing if you're going to start would probably be spinach, baby spinach, and just chuck a handful of that in. Put some frozen berries, so have in your freezer, like some frozen strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, whatever it is. Grab half a handful of that and chuck that in and blend that all up. If you've got room from a calorie point of view, put an apple or a pear in. Make sure you cut out the seeds. You don't want to have them, so just cut 4 sides off and chuck that in there as well. And depending on your size, you might have 1 or 2 scoops of protein and you blend that up, drink it. The whole thing takes 5 minutes max. And then you're out the door, you've hit your protein, you've got some vegetables, so you're going to get some micronutrients in there, you've got some fiber in there, you're going to feel full from the protein and from the water, so you've got some hydration levels up. That's pretty good. And that's pretty much, that's what I do most mornings. I do the same thing. And like I said, I get up at 3:30, to give you an idea of what my morning looks like. I get up at 3:30, I'm in the car within like 11 to 12 minutes, with my protein shake and with my coffee. I drink them on the way to the gym, and then I'm usually getting into the gym 4-ish, give or take, and then I go through all these things that I need to do here. So if I can get up, get all of that stuff done, and get out of the house in 12 minutes, I'm pretty sure that you can do that as well.
Side note on that, make sure you track that as part of your calories, and make sure you use MyFitnessPal effectively, because I did say that he wants to lose some body fat, right?
Yeah, so you got to fit it into the calories.
Yes.
So like I was saying about the apple or the pear or say a banana, or if you're going to chuck one of those pieces of fruit in there, you're not a fan of bananas, Nikki? No. No, well look, I probably give the banana a miss anyways, a little bit higher in calories, but apple or a pear is pretty good. You do have to track, and you've got to make sure that you fit your calories in whatever that calorie target is that you're shooting for. Cool? All right, next question. In episode 13, you talked about joining a gym and seeing a strength and conditioning coach, but what if I don't have time to do that? I don't have time. We hear this one a lot. It's also rubbish, just like the I can't afford to do it response. We'll repeat what we said last time. You can have reasons or you can have results. You can't have both. Chris.
Yes. Is this the no time or the...
This is, yeah, I don't have time to do it.
Okay. Well, the first question I would ask is, what time are you waking up? What time are you going to bed? What are you doing in between?
Yeah.
And is there things that you can be doing better? I can guarantee you there's things that we can pick on if you do give us your schedule. So there is time. Just pick where you can do everything and fit it in.
Yeah. Look, start by doing an audit of your time. Like if you look at, there's a lot of businesses, the higher end businesses, it could be solicitors, there's some accountants, and within their schedule, let's say they're at work from 9 until 5, they essentially need to account for every 15-minute block, or it could be every 20-minute block of time, and what they're doing for that time to justify them getting their wage. They don't just rock up and sit there and do whatever they want for however long. They've got to be productive through all of that time. So what I would say to you is, you're not being productive enough with your time. What time do you get up? Like he said, what time do you go to bed? Now, it's not, oh, well, I go to bed early, I go to bed at 9, but then you sit on your phone until 11 watching things on YouTube and watching other people play Fortnite. That's not going to bed at 9. That's going to bed at 11. how much time are you spending on social media per day? The fact that you're, I suppose it didn't say how old you were here, but I'm assuming you're in high school. That means in high school you probably have a phone, which is probably how you wrote this message and sent it to us in the first place. I don't think we've seen anyone who's come to us starting the program who's been under 4 hours a day that they're spending on social media. We like to try to get kids down. We get some of our kids down under 2 hours, but have a look at your phone. If you've got an iPhone, go into the battery settings, go down and look at battery usage and see what the average over the last 10 days is of how many hours you're using your phone. And I guarantee it's probably between 4 to 6 hours would be the average that we would see. That'd be number one. Number two, are you playing video games at all during the week? Yes or no? Are you watching TV at all during the week? Yes or no? So if you can tell me that you're spending an hour a day only on your phone, you're not playing any video games, and you're not watching any TV or YouTube or any apps or Netflix or anything else like that, if you're not doing any of those things, and if you're, what else? Maybe you're spending an hour to and from school, and if when you get home from school you do like 5 or 6 hours of study, sure, maybe you don't have time. Fair?
Yeah.
But I haven't met a single kid who's come into our program who has been in that situation. I have had some people that I've trained. Now, they're not in the League Fit Academy. They're just private clients that I've trained. But I've had some people who have been in swimming squads who were doing 30 hours a week, and they were also doing sufficient amount of study for them to get 98 and a 99 ATAR. So if they're spending the amount of time that they're to train, 30, 35 hours a week in the pool, and they're studying sufficiently to get an ATAR that high, do not tell me that you don't have time.
Well, the thing is as well, you need to understand, you can't compare yourself to the average person, because the average person isn't trying to make first grade.
That's right.
So they're not going to try to fit something like that in your schedule. So as long as you're understanding that and that you need to put more effort in than the average person, then you'll be able to find some time. And I think if it's motivation that you're lacking or a bit of drive, there's an audiobook from David Goggins called Can't Hurt Me. And he mentions about motivation being something that comes and goes.
Yep.
But changing your mindset is what makes a difference. So if you can change your mindset about how you're actually approaching your day-to-day activities, I'm sure you'll be able to actually start fitting some things in.
And even in the way that you ask the question, you've already, well, it's not so much a question as it is a statement. I don't have time to do that. That's a decision that you've made about the way to phrase a certain statement, rather than saying, how can I find the time to do that? Those are two completely different things. And what he just said about mindset, a mindset of someone who doesn't achieve things, and to be honest, someone who ends up losing in whatever it is that they're trying to do in life, is it's that mindset of, it's the, you know, the whole glass is half empty thing. It's, oh, but what about that guy? He's bigger than me, or he's faster than me, or I'm not fast enough, or I'm not big enough, or I don't have time. Rather than saying, how can I find the time? So if you ask a better question, your brain's going to go to work straight away on trying to find a better answer. So what I would say, if you want to find time to see a strength coach and to go and work in the gym, start asking a better question. Don't say, oh, I don't have enough money for that. Say, how can I get enough money? How can I afford it? How can I find the time? How can I find a good strength coach? You start asking that and your brain will go to work on it. It's like, the brain focuses on certain things. Okay, you can program it to focus on certain things. It's like if you've gotten a new pair of shoes, or let's say, you know, you've got a new car. I know you're probably too young to be driving, but maybe mum and dad, they've got a new car and it's a Mazda something or other. It's a red Mazda. You start noticing those things all the time, okay? And you weren't looking at them before. It's the same with the shoe, or it could be your phone, or it could be maybe it's a shirt that you bought or a hat. You start noticing those things everywhere. So your brain's, it's switched on to that now. If you start looking for opportunities, if you look for opportunities to be able to find time to train, you look for opportunities, if you just start saying, I'm going to start looking for opportunities to try and earn some money, pretty soon those things you start to realize they're actually everywhere around you. Okay, but you got to change that mindset. You got to bring a different, not such a negative mindset about, oh, I can't do it, I can't do this, I can't do that. You're just going to can't yourself to death. Okay, so change that mindset. I think that's all we have for today.
Yeah.
All right, so guys, please like, share, follow on Instagram, Facebook, and was there wasn't a YouTube. That's right. Subscribe. I didn't mention that one either. Subscribe on YouTube, like, share us on Instagram, Facebook, follow us on those two as well. Please send in lots of questions. Keep sending your questions in. We've had some really, really good ones the last couple of episodes. Please keep doing it. And we will see you on episode, what are we up to? 15. Cool. All right. Thanks, guys.